guys. So I know a lot of these videos start out a lot the same, but we're really trying to drive in how to think like an herbalist, right? So again, a lot of us have picked up an herb, studied an herb, and said, what does this do? I wasted a lot of time doing that. But one sentence for me completely changed how I look at the plants. Plants don't make medicine. Plants make chemistry. And that one idea completely changes the way that I read my herbal books. I know we live in a world where a lot of people are like me focused, but plants aren't me focused, right? One of the coolest things about plants is like the thyme plant, mullein, marshmallow. None of these plants woke up one morning and decided, you know what? Let's start taking care of humans. They didn't hold a meeting. They don't care about us like that. These plants are making chemistry because it helps them survive. Some compounds may help protect the plant from insects, right? Some help the plant cope with environmental stress. Some protect it against microbes and grazing animals. The plant's simply just being a plant. And we're the ones who notice that some of these naturally occurring compounds have characteristics that have traditionally been appreciated, right? So let's use thyme as an example. So the thyme plant is making hundreds of naturally occurring compounds. Not one, hundreds. Now think about that for a minute. Every herb in your garden, whether they be in pots, in the ground, wherever, is a tiny chemistry laboratory, right? Every species has its own recipe, and that's why thyme smells different from peppermint, and peppermint smells different than rosemary. Rosemary, of course, smells very different than lavender. Different plants, different chemistries, right? And so our goal isn't to memorize the chemistry, right? I'm never going to can't memorize everything. My brain just doesn't do that. So don't worry, I'm not suggesting you become an organic chemist tomorrow. I know we all have other things to do. I certainly myself have not memorized every constituent out there or availability. Instead, I ask one question, right? What chemistry makes this plant unique? That's enough. For thyme, it's those wonderfully aromatic volatile oils. For marshmallow, it's the slippery mucilage. For witch hazel, it's the rich tannins. And immediately you've started understanding why those plants are different. So the chemistry actually explains the traditional use, okay? And when you figure this out, the herbal books really start to lock in and make sense, right? So I spent a lot of time memorizing. Thyme was for this, marshmallow was for this, mullein was for this. Okay, cool. But if you really want to understand, I now start with the chemistry of the plant. And the chemistry helps explain why herbalists historically appreciated that plant time and time again. Stop memorizing random facts. You know, I'm following the story now. And the stories are much easier to remember, right? So I want you to think about another thing too. And this is an important mindset, right? Our bodies are incredibly busy all the time, whether we know it or not, right? Right now, while I'm talking to you, my heart is beating. My lungs are breathing. My liver is processing nutrients. My digestive tract is moving food around. My immune system is constantly doing surveillance, looking for stuff. My body is working every second of every day, even when I'm sleeping, right? An herbalist have traditionally studied plants because of how their chemistry supports those natural body systems, right? Not because the plant is replacing anything. So this is why two herbs are not the same, right? So let's compare thyme and marshmallow root. Both are commonly discussed in respiratory herbalism. So are they same? Not even close. Thyme's personality is largely aromatic, right? Marshmallow's personality is largely mucilaginous, right? Different chemistry of the plant, different characteristics, different reasons herbalists have traditionally appreciated them. Same body system, right? Both respiratory, but different chemistry. And I think that's one of the most important lessons a beginning herbalist can learn. It helps you understand more. And the more you understand, the less you have to memorize. Anybody can spill off random facts. So for me personally, whenever I find a new herb, I want to focus on an herb, I don't ask, what does this cure? And I see a lot marketed that way, right? I ask, what chemistry is this plant making? That one question usually opens the door to everything else. Why herbalists appreciate it, why certain preparations are more common than others for different plants, right? Why people put it into certain formulas, right? Why are we all of a sudden throwing marshmallow root in, right? Explain. It also explains why if you have two herbs, one might be chosen over another. Everything is about the chemistry, okay? So, some homework if you want to. I want you to walk into your kitchen and I want you to pick up one culinary herb because they're the safest to try with, right? We know we can stick those in our mouths. Don't Google the benefits of that herb. Instead, ask yourself, what do I notice? Is there an aromatic smell? When I taste it, is it bitter? Is it sticky? What is this plant trying to tell me? And then open your herbal book and see if just your natural observations begin matching what generations of herbalists have written. And I think you'll be surprised just how smart you are and how much you figured out without ever studying. So, I think one of the biggest gifts herbalism has given me is curiosity. That's why I tell you guys to stay curious. Instead of looking for miracle plants, I started looking for remarkable chemistry. And once I did, the plants started making a whole lot more sense. So we're going to dive deeper into this with next steps, right? We're going to explore how herbalists recognize patterns across plants, why two herbs can support the same body system while contributing completely different chemistries to the body. So I want to keep building on this because I don't want this to ever be a channel where it's like Hawthorne berry is this, right? Like there will be those videos, right? But I think it's important to learn the basics before we start diving into it because some of those herbs, to really understand the chemistry of them, you need to understand the basics of what is going on in the plant. And I think a lot of people step over too much and try to jump straight to the solved problem instead of trying to work through that, right? So we're going to learn how to think like an herbalist, right? So until next time, guys, stay rooted, stay curious, and as always, keep growing in grace.